I guess the story headline here is that this could allow millions of infections. I'd like to get your opinion on this.
Well, let's explain what the problem is itself. The Blue Box Security is calling this the FakeID vulnerability. This relates to the Android operating system. After 2.1, I believe it's mitigated in the latest versions of Android. But what this is it's a vulnerability in how the certificate checking is performed on certain pieces of code within Android. Certain vendors are allowed a little more leeway in the permissions that their applications have within the operating system. And they're very specific vendors. But what it seems is that after 2.1, the certificate checking that validated that applications really belong to these vendors was not being done properly. So there is a mechanism by which you can sign an application using a fake certificate, somehow tying it to the actual vendor certificate, and then the validation is performed improperly, giving your application the same rights as if it belonged to one of these trusted vendors.
And apparently some applications have some special privileges.
Yep, so some of them have special privileges within the operating system. One in particular, I can't remember the name of the vendor, has rights to use the NFC readers on some phones. NFC being the near field communications, which is used for payment systems, a number of different applications. Typically a very trusted function within the phone.
Right.
So it's akin to super user, if not admin, right? I would go as far as to say
power
super
user at least.
Power user.
Power user. So they're given special privileges to the applications. This is a case where you kind of fake out who you are in terms of the application owner or the provider, and able to get some privileges that you wouldn't necessarily have otherwise. Now, but there still is a need to distribute this,
Get it on
this
the
malware
device.
somehow.
Correct, and Google is aware of the issue. Blue Box reported this to them back in April. Google has been sending out patches, and I believe at least one vendor has actually started pushing those patches to their users for those devices, which is great.
Good.
I mean, the patching process has been done correctly here.
Good.
So kudos to everybody involved. If you were to distribute this, I believe Google is very aware of this at this point. I can't see this making its way into the store, the Play Store.
Right.
So the most likely place you would catch something like this would be in a third-party app store.
All right. So it is conceivable that, considering there are basically perhaps billions of devices out there, or getting on the order of high hundreds of millions, there is a possibility, and that's globally, that there would be a possibility of getting some significant number of devices infected. But I suspect that millions is perhaps a little bit of an exaggeration. I mean, you need a headline to really capture people.
You do. And the devices are, to be fair, unpatched and therefore vulnerable. It's the situation which you'd have to place the device into that drastically limits the number of devices that I think are really, I can't say vulnerable or susceptible, but likely.
And I think that's testimony for the notion of security in layers. It is to not depend on any one mechanism to protect. They could have made the option that this signature on this software is the only protection, and you can get it from any place without any other controls. But they are putting other controls in place to help to protect against situations like this. And I think that's a very healthy trend that's come along, at least in the mobile device space. We're really worried about, the proliferation of large numbers of devices compared to computers, and having the potential to create havoc from a malware point of view. It certainly is still a possibility, but to a large extent, this has been a pretty decent environment in terms of curtailing or suppressing the opportunity to get large deployments of any given piece of malware. So we hope it continues that way.